Good afternoon, everybody. This is Stephen Corsaro here, checking in with the National Sports Forum on a beautiful sunny day out here in San Diego. I hope all is well with each and every one of you wherever you are in the country. So first off, just wanted to say thank you so much for joining, and glad to pique your interest with one of our very interesting webinars that we have this month. So on emerging technology in the business of sports. So one thing that we really wanted to focus on this past year in Portland was creating a new forum to introduce these new technologies that are really becoming the centerpiece of our industry. And as the fan evolves and becomes more tech savvy, we wanted to make sure that our topics evolved as well, and we could talk more and more about, what technologies are out there that we could be integrating into our businesses and bettering our organizations. So I hope that you guys have a chance to enjoy this with yourself and your team. Feel free to share. This webinar will be recorded, so you can share with your team at your leisure here. So each month we introduce a new topic. Last month we talked about mobile fan engagement, and this month we'll be talking about the emerging technologies in the business of sports. So we're very excited to have three great speakers here today. Kelsey Klevenberg, who is the Director of Market Development with ZipWhip, based up in Seattle. Bill Young, who is the President of Skill Fitness, a social learning platform based up in Minneapolis, where we'll be next year with the National Sports Forum. And Carlos Kesbers, who's the Director of Business Intelligence and Ticket Strategies for the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we wanted to thank all of our speakers for joining us here today. Each one of our speakers will have approximately 15 minutes, and afterwards we'll take some questions. So feel free to submit any questions you might have and specify who it's for, and we'll hopefully have some time after everyone's done to be able to get to your questions. So that being said, I wanted to introduce our first speaker here. So Bill Young, who is the President of Skill Fitness. Bill was a first-time attendee this past year and participated in our inaugural NSF Tech Tank competition. As a result, he came out as the winner of the Wild About Apps flight. So Bill brings 30 years of sales executive leadership with organizations including IBM, NBI, NCS. So he is very well versed in sales, and specifically what he wants to talk about here is social learning. So as we all know, learning is very integral into not only bettering ourselves, but creating an engaged environment for sales executives within the organization. So I know we personally here from our sales team, we've created a sales decathlon that if anyone has a chance to check out, actually we took the idea from the Brooklyn Nets. But one of the things that we're trying to do is keep our guys engaged. And I know that Bill is an expert at providing that. So I wanted to introduce Bill here, who's going to talk a little bit about what they're doing up in Minneapolis. I know he's working with some great colleges as well as the Major League Soccer Sales Center up in Minneapolis. So without further ado, Bill, you're up.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, to the webinar today. So yeah, I'm Bill Young. I am the president and co-founder of Skill Fitness. As Stephen pointed out, last year we were privileged to participate at the National Sports Forum Tech Tank, and in their new format, the Wild About Apps competition, and actually had a chance to win that. So that was fun, and if any of you are thinking about doing that, I would highly encourage you to do that next year if you can, up here in Minneapolis. So Skill Fitness is a mobile learning platform. We use mobile technology, two-way asynchronous video, and something called social learning, and we sprinkle in a little gamification to drive really performance improvement. So Albie, if you want to hit the first slide there. So what's driving, the topic for today was what's driving, this emerging technologies in the business of sports. And really what we see is it's really the changing demographic of the fan base. And not only the fan base, but the workers that service those fans. We call it the millennial challenge. So as you know, the millennials are here. and they're really changing the way organizations work, the way they teach, and the way they learn. So, you know, looking there, you can see on the left side there, they are the new majority of the workforce, but they're difficult to, you know, recruit, train, and retain. So I'll try to sprinkle in a couple of comments on some research, but you know, research shows that 55% of hiring managers say it's really difficult to find and to retain these new workers. So, but once they're hired, one of the things we find is that they really value coaching, training, but they do want it on their terms. You know, again, there's some research said that 65% of millennials who have accepted a new job in the past year said that the opportunity for personal development was what really drove their decision. Salary was actually fourth on the list, if you can believe that. But they want it on their terms, anytime, anywhere. And so they come with a smartphone, they want it on their smartphone. So again, less than 10% of these new workers really think the classroom training is valuable. And yet we know 87% of them say that their smartphone never leaves their side. You know, and I'm talking about the millennial workers, but I am, as you saw from that first page, I have a lot of gray hair, but yet I also don't let my phone leave my side. So it really works for all workers. So it's really important then that the employers recommend, you know, sort of recognize these needs, or quite frankly, the workers are going to find another place to work. And so things like the employer recognizing that you really need to design your onboarding experience to train these people needs to be different. The old way doesn't work. You need to have to adapt to this new worker. So Albie, if you'd hit the next slide. So our solution, Skill Fitness, it's a mobile learning platform. And what we try to do is harness the power of mobile technology, video, social learning, and really to teach the millennials the way they want to learn. Again, it's for all people, not just millennials, but it works. It really works well with them. So there's three parts to our solution. The first part is what you're seeing there on the left where it says watch. That would be something that would appear on someone's iPad or Android tablet or their smartphone, and that's where the learning modules are held. And so videos, and we like short and sweet videos, brief learning nuggets, that's all layered into this platform. We've designed it to be scary simple, and so you know it's a point and click, and so you have the opportunity to watch these learning nuggets. Now, watching video is no big thing. A lot of people can do that. What makes our system somewhat unique is that the ability, after you've watched that video, you hit a button, the camera literally flips on your phone or your tablet, and now the individual has the opportunity to practice, and practice in a safe environment, practice where it's convenient for them to practice their skills, as opposed to, say, doing a role play in front of the entire team. So they can practice as much as they want, practice till they feel like they got it right. So, so once they felt they got it right, then this is where the social learning comes in, is that they can then share that attempt through the system with other people for the purposes of getting feedback to improve performance. And that feedback can come from peers, from their coaches, from their managers. One of the things, my background was in sales, but I spent a lot of time in online education, and one of the things we learned as you start teaching adults is that sometimes the expert isn't the person in front of the room, it's the person sitting next to you. So there's a lot to be learned from other people on the team and sharing that experience. So again, what we've found in chatting with some of our clients is the result of this can really help organizations improve the skill sets of their employees. You can onboard people faster, and if you do that, you can really drive some key performance indicators like increasing revenue, improving time to competency, and really greater employee satisfaction and greater fan satisfaction. So let me tell you about 3 different organizations that are using this. So Albie, you want to hit one more time? So so since we're talking about the sports world, and our solution actually works in the business world, it works in the education space, but as it relates to the sports world, I just thought I'd share these three organizations with you. First is Major League Soccer, as Stephen mentioned earlier. So the Major League Soccer has a really innovative way to bring their new salespeople on board. They all they start actually here in Minnesota. And for those of you that will be coming to the Sports Forum next February, I think you'll have an opportunity to perhaps visit with them. But Major League Soccer sales all starts here, and then so the training is here. So they are now using Skill Fitness as a way to augment some of their other training. So again, the new employee comes on, they get access to the training videos, and what MLS has done is they've actually taken the expert content in the platform is actually from the 19 different sales teams. So could be the head of ticket sales for the Portland Timbers is going to do an exercise on video about a proper selling technique. So it's really kind of cool. The participants in the program not only get to practice the technique, they're also getting a chance to see perhaps a future employer. So Melanie, who's their sales manager up there, said, you know, the evaluation scores have gone way up. They're driving higher revenue. Training people are getting their, getting to their goals faster. So again, improved onboarding experience drives greater time to competency. The other one, the one in the middle there, that's University of South Florida, the MUMA College of Business. And I'm sure many of you that have participated in the forum in the past know about the case competition, but University of South Florida is a frequent participant and a past winner. They are now using our platform. They're using our solution in their, actually 2 parts, one in their sports and entertainment management program, in their MBA program, and they're also using it in their professional studies program. But they were really a fast start. We started last year, and we deployed it. And one of the exercises they have in their MBA program, I mean, obviously, if you're going to get an MBA in sports entertainment management, you better know something about revenue generation and ticket sales. So one of their exercises was to teach their people how to go sell season tickets at tailgate parties. Well, you can imagine if you were a student, that was probably fairly painful if you didn't know how to do it. So they actually used our system to train literally in the field, taking advantage of the mobile experience. And the students actually were out selling successfully at tailgate parties 2 days later. So it was a huge success. They're now looking to expand that to other parts of the university. The last one I was going to talk about this morning is Stadium Gorilla. So Bill Gertine, Stadium Gorilla, is one of the top sales training organizations in the professional sports world. And he works with a lot of teams. Some of you on the phone may know Bill. But one of the things he's looking to do, again, is to be able to address this younger audience. So he's going mobile. And one of his very first deployments will be taking his proven content that he normally delivers in a face-to-face solution. He'll augment that with a mobile experience, and then he'll use this as an ongoing experience after the face-to-face meetings have taken place. And interestingly enough, because mobile is easily compatible with other languages, one of his very first deployments will be at a major professional sports league in Mexico. So there's a lot of different uses for our system, and I'd be anxious to take any questions that you might have. So that's Skill Fitness, and thank you again. And quite frankly, I'm hoping I will see some of you up here in my neck of the woods next February at the Sports Forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Bill. I'm sure that a lot of the people on the call are very excited to join in Minneapolis. So to Bill's point, next year in Minneapolis, we'll be taking the 2017 National Sports Forum. So we're very excited to be joining a great array of hosts up there with the Minnesota Vikings, Feld Entertainment, the Twins, the Wild, just a great overall sports city. And to your point, what you guys are doing with the Major League Soccer National Sales Center is, where we actually established our first relationship, and very interested to hear what you guys are doing. So just wanted to toss out a quick question to you, Bill, and kind of learn a little bit more about what type of engagement levels you're seeing as a result. Is this something that you're specifically targeting new trainees, or is it something where if I've been with the organization for a year, 2 years, and trying to brush up on some new techniques and maybe switch it up and get better myself, is that something that you guys can provide as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It really depends on the need of the organization. But again, Stephen, you started off the conversation with this social learning. One of the unique opportunities we have is that you have people in an organization that have experience and tenure, that sort of thing, and then you have these new folks. Well, what this allows you to do is to have somebody who's been around the block, so to say, really gives them an opportunity to provide input and coaching and feedback to a new person. So, and at the same time, there are things like, product information, certain skills that no matter how long you've been in the business, you still need to refresh those skills or learn new skills. So I do think that, again, because of there's such a need in the onboarding experience, really not even just in professional sports or sports world, it's across the board. But yeah, it works. The engagement's high really across all things, but it may serve a different need versus what a new person needs versus someone who's been around for a while. And quite frankly, it also is a great motivator to have somebody who's been around, as you said, perhaps for a few years. They are now the experts, so they become perhaps your video expert, sort of one of their own, being able to do that. So it works both ways.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Bill. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Bill Young with Skill Fitness. Feel free to, if you have any questions for Bill, you can type it into the box that you see on your screen, and we'll look to save a few minutes at the end of the call here to get to all your questions and engage with these guys. So again, that was Bill Young. Thank you so much, Bill. Moving forward, we wanted to introduce our next speaker, Carlos Kesbers, who is the Director of Business Intelligence Ticket Strategy for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know Carlos is having a very interesting off-season, as we were just chatting about, so I'm sure he's excited that he got all his ticket sales done before Kevin Durant decided to leave. So we are very excited. Carlos has been with the forum for, I want to say this past year was your 4th forum, so we're very excited to bring you to your 5th National Sports Forum this year. And this year will be the first as a member of the NSF steering committee. So Carlos has replaced an old-time steering committee member within your own organization, Brian Burns, and we're very excited to have you on. So that being said, I wanted to turn this over to Carlos, who's going to walk you through some of the emerging technologies that they're utilizing within the Thunder organization to influence ticket strategy, collect data, and really better understand their fans and increase their own sales.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Happy to be on the call. Thanks for inviting me on. Live in Oklahoma City, but was actually born just outside of Minneapolis. So I'm excited in February to go back to land and spend some time up there and learn and meet people and do what you guys do best. So thanks again. Yeah, so I wanted to go ahead and just take everybody through a little bit of a case study that we did this past season. And sorry for lack of introduction, my name's Carlos Kesbers. I'm the Director of Business Intelligence and Ticket Strategy for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a case study of a little bit of an issue that we had with the Thunder this past season. The issue is going to sound a little bit backwards and doesn't quite fit for a lot of teams, but the good news is it introduced some pretty cool technologies that we kind of changed our business around and got us thinking in different ways, and sometimes you need an issue to come across for you to better your business. Our unique situation was that we've been very fortunate to be successful on the sales side, on the attendance side, with our team. We've had sold-out venue for over 4 or 5 seasons now, very supportive. And we started to see a little bit of malaise in the fan base as they've gone through almost a season's worth of playoff games over the past couple seasons, and it was starting to wear on our fans. We saw attendance dip just a little bit. However, a lot of the seats were still sold. So we need to figure out a way to make sure our fans knew every single avenue that was possible for them to get their tickets utilized, whether it was coming themselves, giving them out to somebody, a coworker, a friend, family, donating them to charity through some means that we have made available to them online, or reselling them on our ticket marketplace. So transitioning that was also a little bit of a limited education that our clients had in how to post their tickets for resale, when to do it, what price to do it. Again, we've been fortunate in the past where owning a Thunder ticket and reselling it is probably one of the better investments someone could have over the past 5 or 6 years with the way that it's resold. So that success has actually skewed some of their expectations on what the ticket should sell for moving forward. And then the third thing is just a lack of time to spend personally interacting with our accounts who may not attend. With the success that we've had on the floor and with our service culture and our retention team, the bandwidth of our account managers is spread pretty thin, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything possible and being efficient so that our account managers can focus on making meaningful and genuine relationships that's going to keep them coming back year after year after year, regardless of what the win-loss record is. So our hypothesis in this whole thing is that if we could predict attendance on a game-by-game basis, but also on a seat-by-seat basis, it could put us in a better position to be efficient with our messaging, to work with our clients to recommend alternate uses for their own tickets, and then at the end of this whole thing, do higher show rates at our games. And by higher show rates, I'm not saying that we want to take a 15,000 seat game and make it 18,000, but we were pretty confident that we could move the needle up anywhere between 300 and 500 or 600. So little jumps here and there that's just going to make the arena experience a little bit better. What did we need to do all of this? We sat down as a group and figured out that we're going to need to build some sort of algorithm that's going to help predict our overall drop counts. For those of you guys not working with teams, a drop count is essentially just the number of tickets scanned in a building. We're going to need the same type of algorithm to predict what our individual client attendance is going to be. Once we have all that, we'll put together a little bit of a communication plan and timeline for each of the games and how our sales and service reps are going to call their clients that might not be attending. And then lastly, and most importantly, is we needed an ability to tie an ROI to that process. So the people that were not going to attend games and then we called and convinced them to use their tickets, what kind of drive does that have on our actual game? Is it increased food and beverage pricing? Is it more merchandise? Are they spending other things? So we needed to put some numbers to that as well. The solution in this whole thing was that we started to build out our business intelligence department. This happened right before last season started, around September. We hired a business analyst with a pretty big background in oil and gas and analytics, and he helped us to build a little bit of a regression analysis on what were the main drivers of attendance at our games. We were able to plug into our ticketing system and use some data gained from our CRM system to figure out what were the actual reasons why people are attending games. We also partnered with a company called Recentive Analytics, and they're based out of Boston. They are specializing in machine learning on the sports side, so partnered with them. They were able to plug into our ticketing system and look at all of the ticketing behavior that was going on, kind of behind the doors with ticket resale, posting, weather, jersey sales for opposing teams. I think there's about 54 different metrics that goes into their algorithm to help predict whether a client was going to a game. And the beauty of it is machine learning, so that each action that happens on the ticketing level, day by day, it's learning, and it's making the algorithm a little bit stronger, a little bit better. And then we worked with the retention team to streamline some of the communications that they have for their client base. Instead of having someone go to them and say, all right, we have a game on Tuesday, here's a list of people that typically don't attend on Tuesday, please call them all. We were a little bit more efficient in giving them some predictability and probability scores within their client base, and building something around to where here are the specific 5 or 6 people you should call, you should email the rest of these, and the other ones we're pretty sure are going to show. Our game expectation report was one of the first things that came out of all of this. Our business analyst, Alex, mainly used the software R. If you're in any analysis, it's kind of the up-and-coming sexy type of software that people are using to do analysis. And the interesting thing that they found, for those of you working with teams, is that the highest correlation to game night attendance was actually if someone invited someone to attend a game and that person did not accept the attendance. So that was the number one. And if someone also posted their tickets for resale and they didn't sell. A lot of this stuff, from what we found, isn't really rocket science. It was a lot of things that we were pretty certain had a strong indication for someone not to show, but it was really, really nice to have the data to finally back it up and to show other people that our gut was right. We ran this algorithm 7 hours prior to each game, and it gave us an overall prediction of what our drop count was. We were able to not do too much with that. We're more just testing to see how it was going to work. But I'll talk a little bit later about what our goals are going to be moving forward with that. With our partnership with Recentive Analytics, they built a software called Precast. Precast was put together to allow the account managers to see each of their clients, their location, and what their actual prediction, what their probability to attend each game is. So this slide's a little bit grainy, so I apologize, and if anybody needs further information on it, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to give you more information. But it shows a little bit of what our attendance is going to look like by product type, so our half seasons, our full seasons, single game, and so on. It shows what the attendance could be by section, and then below all that in the grid, it shows the actual clients and what their prediction is to attend. On that far right column is the prediction, and that scrolls down all the way to a 0 probability. And what we did with our client, or with our retention team, is gave them pretty much a more efficient way to interact with their clients. This was a really, really incredible thing for us, because Recentive came to us and asked for, what issues are you having? We gave them this idea, and they built this on the back end. So it was really impressive and allowed us to be incredibly more efficient. So transitioning from that slide, if a client had a probability of 0 to 25% to attend the game, the reps were calling them and asking, hey, are you planning on coming to the next game? If not, hey, no problem. Are you familiar with our ticket donation process through Big Brothers and Big Sisters that you can also get a tax deduction for? Or, hey, just so you know, tickets in your section are reselling on our marketplace for X amount, and that'd be a way to do it too. For the people that fell within 26 to 50% to attend, we sent an email as a reminder of the game and also suggesting some alternate measures to use their tickets. And anybody above 50% probability to attend, we didn't do anything. We had a pretty good indication that they were actually going to show. So through that process, we're much, much more strategic with our communications, and the reps really, really enjoyed it because it freed up some more time for them to do what they do best, which is get to know their clients. So the results of this whole thing with our game expectation report, which was really, really fun to watch, is towards the back end of the season, our prediction on our overall attendance got to be pretty powerful. Even with the example here for our March 22nd game against Houston, our prediction was within 81 seats. So that was really helpful for us. Our account managers freed up time to spend customizing experience on the game night attendees, pushing other things like we have a partnership with Experience app, which pushes some customized game night experiences like photos on the floor, interaction with our entertainers like our mascot or Thunder Girls. And then the other great thing was that the Precast model actually had an accuracy of anywhere between 80 and 90% by the end of the season. So really, really cool to think about if you have a game with 18,000 people that could potentially come, and you're guessing on 80% of them, that guess is probably going to be correct. So that was great for us. So a lot of things happened through that process. The one thing that we learned is that we would have done a lot of things differently and do plan on doing it moving forward. The first of which is our overall game expectation report, where we're predicting the overall attendance for a game. We usually did 7 hours before. We're going to do that 7 days before. And our goal with this is to involve some more departments that are going through with staffing on game nights. So if we can get a week out and let someone know that staffing is going to be a little bit light, even in specific areas, that can help the building with staffing ushers and concessionaires and police and firefighters and all of that type of stuff to help them out as well. We're going to work with Recentive to integrate into our CRM system, which is further going to improve the rep efficiency. So instead of having them go through the actual matrix that you saw, maybe we can automate some tasks in the CRM system to recommend them to call them instead so that they don't have to do that on their own. And then from that, potentially automate some communications based on the probabilities. So if they fall below 25%, it might trigger an email that automatically goes to them with some of that same information that I talked about. And then further educating our season ticket members on our resale marketplace and how much tickets in their area are selling for, when's the best time to post them, and what's the right price to do so. With that being said, that is kind of a little bit of a glimpse into how we've developed and worked with a couple partners and internally with a couple different departments to make our reps a little bit more efficient, to make our building a little bit more full, and long story short, everybody a little bit more happy on game nights.
Well, thank you, Carlos. That was definitely a great insight into what you guys are doing. Obviously, very tech savvy here. And just a quick question. So I know that you mentioned one of the big things that you guys are doing specifically with Recentive is trying to understand the main drivers for fans in attending games. And with you increasing your utilization by 80 to 90%, how is that affecting some of the other components of your game day strategy? For example, planning for concessions, activating corporate partners, so on and so forth. Are you guys doing a lot of collaboration within the organization to more effectively target your fans?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a terrific question. And the answer to that kind of falls into the what's next of what we're doing. We were a little unsure about what the power of the Recentive partnership and some of the other things was that was coming, and we stumbled upon a really, really cool tool that's helping us out. How we're using that moving forward is, one, definitely within our sponsorship team. If we know whether or not they're going to attend, and then also use some of our other CRM data. For instance, with our partnership with Ticketmaster, they have an arm called Live Analytics that gives a lot of demographic and psychographic information on their propensity to buy certain concerts or what type of cars they prefer, household income. That kind of stuff, as an example, we can work with our sponsorship team to not place ads throughout the entire arena, but maybe placing ads in very hyper-specific sections of the arena, because we know the density of someone that enjoys Chevy, or they like Chevy trucks, might be sitting there, and that offer might be a little bit more pertinent to them than other places in the arena.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that your sponsorship guys are really appreciating that too, and whoever's holding that Chevy account, and probably going to help a little bit with the resale when you guys are going to renew that partnership.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Carlos. Yeah, a question from the audience. You mentioned the Experience app. What do you do to promote and encourage app download and use?
Yeah, it's a great question too. So we're about to go into our third season with Experience, and we've kind of expanded our partnership with them each year. Their actual technology is really, really seamless on the client side, and we've really enjoyed pushing that to our clients. They, through an app on their phone, can sign up to receive notifications when certain experiences on a game night could be released. And so it's sort of like tickets a little bit, which is terrific because it's familiar for the clients. And they've been able to do anything from taking pictures on the floor, shooting a free throw after the game, getting tours of certain areas of the arena, and that list kind of goes on and on. We've tried to drive that by doing some in-game type reads, since it's more specific towards our ticket holders and not more the general population. We've focused really, really hard on our season ticket membership to help drive some of that. The first year, we only did season ticket members as Experience app. They were the only ones to go through there. This past year, we shifted a little bit and opened it up towards the general public that have tickets to purchase those experiences. So word of mouth has helped out a little bit, and then we've usually put those type of things into a pre-game email that we send prior to each home game to all ticket buyers, whether they've bought a resold ticket, a season ticket member, a ticket was forwarded to them. We have the information, and we put it in there for them to download the app, sign up, and take a look at some of the experiences that can really make their night a lot cooler and a lot more customized for whoever they're bringing.
Great. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That was Carlos Kesbers with the Oklahoma City Thunder. If anyone has any questions for Carlos, please feel free to enter it into your box, and we'll look to schedule a little bit of time here at the end of the call to get to everyone's questions. But again, Carlos, great recap. You know, we're really excited to further discuss what you guys are doing and monitoring how everything goes this season, and talking a little bit more about it this year at the forum up in Minneapolis.
Thanks, Stephen.
So next up is Kelsey Klevenberg, who is the Director of Market Development with ZipWhip. ZipWhip, again, was one of the winners of this year's Tech Tank in the ticketing flight, so one actually Carlos sat on. So as we all know, and Carlos just walked you through, ticket sales is really kind of the blood, sweat, and tears of our industry here. And what ZipWhip has done is they've created this very interesting texting platform that can integrate into any toll or landline, and it's a very, very interesting technology that I haven't really seen too much before. But obviously, as we all look and talk about millennials and marketing to millennials, texting has really become the best way and means of communication with them. So what ZipWhip and Kelsey have done with partners such as the Brooklyn Nets, Major League Soccer, and a bunch of the organizations within that league, they've really kind of taken that engagement to the next level. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Kelsey to let him speak much more intelligently about what they're doing with their partnerships. And that being said, Kelsey, take it away.
Hey, thanks for the warm introduction there, and thanks for moving me to the back of the pack. I work at a technology company, but I had some trouble dialing in there. What I'd like to do is just set a brief agenda here. I just want to introduce myself and elaborate a little bit on what we're doing with sports teams. And then I do have a deck. It's going to be very short. It's about 5 slides. I'm going to cover those briefly, and then I can answer any questions. My name is Kelsey Klevenberg. I'm the Director of Development here at ZipWhip, and we're all relatively new to the sports world. But what we knew going in is that our service, which adds texting to existing landline and toll-free numbers, is that people want to text out there, and there's a lot of businesses, including sports teams and franchises, that we're either using that in a limited capacity or not at all. And what we've got to show you today is a deck from the Portland Timbers. They launched our service about 9 months ago, and they presented this recently, and they found some really cool things by launching our service. And the first slide that we're going to see is just a few basic facts to kind of prove our thesis that people want to use texting here. And we hear this millennial word all the time. It's a coveted market. And we know that 71% of young adults would like text as a customer service option. And we think that's a powerful number. 44% of people, and this is a study, you can find the link there below, 44% of people would rather send a text and stay on hold for customer service. Some of us have experienced this. If you call into certain call centers, they'll have you punch in your phone number, and then they'll call you back when they're ready. We think it's even more powerful to say, hey, punch 1 if you want us to text you back and engage in a texting conversation with us. And then what we see is 32% of consumers whose income is over 100K a year do not listen to their voicemails. We think people prefer text, and what that number shows is that the higher income bracket you go, the more people prefer text messaging. So we put some of these to the test with the Timbers, and they've found great success with it. And one of the questions that people have most frequently is, what do you mean you do texting on landline numbers? Do you do the messages show up on the digital screen on my work phone? And that's not it. What we do is have a piece of software, and that software sits on your computer screen, and it lives inside of a web app, and it's very clean and very easy to navigate. You can see the branding here up in the right-hand corner of the web app, Portland Timbers. This would be an example of text enabling a sales associate's existing business number. He can then engage with his clients on a back-and-forth conversational basis from the very number that he would call that person on. Back-and-forth communication in real time, in a fashion that both that person and the client are used to with texting. It operates in the client's existing texting app. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. There's some really cool things here. We knew that there would be some importance of reaching out to groups of folks. If you have 4 or 5 folks engaging in what Carlos mentioned, maybe a pregame fan experience on the floor. If I'm the sales rep, maybe I want to send them a text message and say, hey, I just wanted to remind you to be there at 6:45 for your picture with the OKC dancers, and we're going to have a great time. Thanks again for picking up that package. There's picture messaging as well, so if you're looking to engage with your clients about seat location or any other feedback that you want to get, maybe a picture with a mascot of your kid takes a picture of a mascot and a client sends a picture message into the client. That's just great content for social, great back and forth relationship building between the ticket holder and the agent. And we also have scheduled texting. And what I took out of Carlos's presentation is that anything you can do to get an advantage with building a relationship, any other way that you can reach out to somebody and engage, the better off you're going to be in increasing those number of tickets sold and then those number of butts in the actual seats once they are sold. Maybe you find out on that one of your season ticket holders resold a seat, and you actually want to engage with the person that purchased that ticket to make sure the experience was okay. Maybe texting is a way to do that. I know that he had on his slide deck, they reached out to folks via phone calls and emails. Well, what if we added in text messaging to those 51% of people that were going to show up or that we thought were going to show up just as extra assurance? Maybe it would have went down to 50 or 40 or 30 or 20 seats that they were accurate within. But we like to see it as a way to expand your overall communication experience. We're not trying to replace phone calls or emails. We're just trying to add to that outreach that's at your disposal. We can go to the next slide. This is just briefly touched on activity totals. What we think it shows is that when text messaging is introduced, it reduces the dependency on certain levels of phone calls. We find that early on in a sales relationship, there's a lot of phone calls, and then the importance of those phone calls diminishes. It's little things that you need, yes or no answers, quick questions, quick answers, things that are tying up your sales reps on the phone. So we think text is a great way to get those questions answered, provide great customer service, and reduce those calls for things that don't need to be spoken over the phone. On our next slide, we just have some different uses for the service department. The Timbers have become a very big fan of our service because they've been able to reach unresponsive accounts. I'm one of those people that don't listen to voicemails. I got an iPhone, and it took me 3 months to set up my message box. So if I, if I have signed up for something, or I'm scheduled to do something for a nonprofit or an event, and somebody left me a voicemail, I didn't get it for 3 or 4 months. They had a case in which they had an unresponsive account. They reached out via text and got things squared away. I'm not going to go through each of these. You can read down those as I finish up my comments here. But we think it makes perfect sense just to add texting to existing numbers and increase the probability that you're going to reach out to folks and improve that customer service experience as well. We can go to the last slide. I'm filling in today for Keenan Husky. He's our account manager for all of our sports teams. This last year at the National Sports Forum was our first in attendance. We've actually booked again for Minneapolis. So if you're going to be there, you'll see us with our ZipWhip booth. It's been a really great experience getting into the world of sports from a business side. We have a lot to learn, and we're happy to experiment and combine with folks like the NSF and the Timbers to do fun new things and see if our technology really is as game-changing as we think it is. So you can absolutely reach out to us for inquiries, and I'm free to take questions at this point as well.
Thank you so much, Kelsey, and we're very excited to have both yourself and Keenan back with us this next year at the forum. One thing that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is, obviously a very innovative system that you guys are doing. You obviously use the Timbers as your poster child in the case study here. What are you seeing, whether it be with the Timbers or the Nets or any of your other partners in the industry? Do you see this technology being engaged more with the millennial market, or do you see it being engaged, surprisingly well with some of those? I know that you mentioned some of the people that are making over $100,000 a year, so maybe putting them into a higher demographic in terms of age. Do you see it consistent, or do you see it skewed?
It's a good question. A lot of folks, and we haven't done a report. We need to get involved with a company that similar to what Carlos got involved in to get those deep advanced analytics. We haven't done that, but we know that industry-wide messaging is on an increase regardless of age. So a lot of folks think that millennials text and then it drops off significantly, when in reality all age brackets are text messaging more and more each year. And so yes, it might be the preferred method for millennials on a larger scale than for folks in an older age demographic, but we think that pretty much to a person, the understanding and at least begrudging use of text messaging is increasing everywhere.
Absolutely. And then obviously I want to kind of extend this question here to Carlos. Carlos, obviously with you guys centering a lot on analytics, do you see any preference or any interaction through texting with your fans, your season ticket holders? Is that something that you guys dabble in at all?
Not as much, and we need to be doing more. And I hate to make the answer that short and that simple, but I mean, even listening to Kelsey talk there, it's just got my wheels spinning about how we can be a little bit better.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, obviously the focus of this webinar here was emerging technologies, and very much the forefront of what we're seeing going on, which Kelsey, you guys introduced us to last year in the Tech Tank, was what texting can mean, not only from a sales standpoint, but I know that you guys were talking a lot about engagement, customer service, season ticket services. Can you talk a little bit more about what you guys are doing on the customer service aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great way to introduce texting into a stadium experience. If you go to any stadium, and I think this has really come about in the last 2 years, there'll be, if you're being harassed or if you have questions or if you have an issue, you can text a keyword or just text a question to a 5-digit number that the organization puts throughout the stadium. I was most recently at the StubHub Center in California, and they had it everywhere. And it was just, I wanted to throw my hands up and say, this should be a number that you can call or text. If you're interested in getting into this, from a customer service standpoint, that's a great intro because it's a lot easier. You don't have to train a whole sales team or get people to change their day-to-day sales workflow. I work with 50 or 60 direct salespeople, so I know how tough it can be to get them to change their ways. This can really be as simple as creating some plaques and saying, hey, call or text this number with questions, or if you have an issue with your seat, and using that as a segue into this type of technology. It doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't have to be anything large scale. We like to walk before we run with customers, and we do have folks using it in that capacity.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very interesting to see, from a customer. I can see this being a, a great introduction from a customer service versus sales. If it's introduced first from a sales standpoint, it might seem a little bit bullish, but I mean, from a customer service standpoint, personally, I'm to be completely honest with you, I'm not as big of a texter. Being a millennial, I think that's almost like a crime against humanity. But from a customer service standpoint, I agree with you. I would much rather have someone text me than sit on hold for 10, 15 minutes waiting for customer service. It's very interesting. Very interesting what you guys are doing.
Yep, we're saying let the person pick which way they want to communicate with you. You shouldn't be dictating to them which way that they can reach you.
Absolutely. So with that being said, Kelsey, thank you so much for the insight there. Very interesting what you guys are doing. Certainly a lot.
Thanks for organizing.
Oh, well, it's great to have you guys back. We're very excited to be bringing you guys back out to Minneapolis this year. With that being said, I just want to wrap up with a question for each one of you guys, starting with Bill here. Bill, what do you see as kind of the future of technology from your side of the business? Where are you looking to go, maybe within the next 12 months?
That's a good question. Actually, interestingly enough, it's really around language. I'm dealing with some large organizations, and here we are talking about English, here in the States, but particularly when we deal with large corporations, we have an opportunity right now to deploy to 2,600 salespeople in China. And what's interesting is that mobile gives us that opportunity to do that relatively easy. I mean, you can literally go to your iPhone and change the setting to, simplified Chinese. If you do that as an experiment, you do need to know how to get back. So a little bit around language, and then the other one would probably be more around some basic assessment tools. So beyond just the ability to practice using your video, but some other kinds of assessments that you could integrate into sort of the whole experience.
Very interesting. Well, we're definitely excited to be up your way, and man, it seems like just around the corner, Minneapolis will be upon us. So we're very excited to have you back and seeing what's new in the world of skill fitness.
Thank you.
And then, Carlos, I wanted to put the question out there to you as well. I know that you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what might the next 12 months or even this season, what are you guys seeing in terms of some new innovative technologies where you're looking to build and grow from a technological standpoint?
Yeah, sure. And Stephen, if you don't mind, I'll kind of answer your question in a weird way. I think not only us, but most organizations are going to start to get challenged on how good technology is, and then also balancing it with the personal touch of a phone call, a relationship, a hand-to-hand meeting, getting in front of people. We've seen so many terrific technologies and softwares that can help us be so much more efficient, but then we also have to take a step back and remember some of the secret sauce that has led a lot of us to be successful, which is, shaking someone's hand and talking to them directly and doing that kind of stuff too. So we're looking forward to seeing what's out there, but also looking forward to seeing how we can keep staying the same, as ambiguous as that sounds.
No, I agree. I mean, hey, we're we're in the business of putting on the National Sports Forum, so we encourage everyone to get out there. I mean, for everyone that's on the call here, if you like what you see, it can only get that much better if you're in person in Minneapolis, St. Paul this upcoming year at the National Sports Forum. We'll be out there from February 14th to the 16th, and very excited to not only have very interesting sessions like you might have heard today, But to Carlos's point, be able to shake someone's hand. I mean, it's a lot better to do business in person, to meet these people, to pick Carlos's brain after this in person. So very excited. And then rounding it out, Kelsey, I wanted to put the question out to you. What are you guys anticipating over the next 12 months? How are you looking to build your current partnerships? I know that you talked about maybe getting a little bit more data insights. So take us home here.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I think Carlos sums it up really well. And in a position like he's in, you have to know if the effort and work you're putting into is paying off. And we hear it all the time, no matter what industry we're attending a trade show for these days. And you have to be able to provide deep analytical insight to your customers. So we've recently launched keywords reporting. We've launched general reporting. And that's really just a scratch of the surface. We need to be able to answer questions like you asked of, hey, what's the age demo of folks reaching out, and what time of day was the most consistent text messaging, and just having answers for any questions asked about our services is something that's going to be able to take us to the next level and build greater relationships in the industry.
Absolutely. Well, we're very excited to have you back and to continue to grow and build together. So that would bring us to the top of the hour. I just wanted to thank all of you panelists as well as our audience for tuning in. Feel free, again, this session has been recorded so you can share with your team or review any of the content that we talked about. So we're very excited, and again, if you liked what you saw, not only do we have the forum coming up this upcoming year in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but we're also going to be doing our second round of the National Sports Forum's Tech Tank, where we're further discussing and evaluating what some of these technologies are that are out there. So feel free to tune into our website, www.sports-forum.com, for any more information. And with that being said, we're going to release you guys here today. Hope you all had a great time, and thank you for joining us.